Hello and welcome, everyone. I am thrilled to be joined today by Owner.com's Chief Revenue Officer, Kyle Norton. Kyle and I met about 18 months ago when I was a guest on his podcast, the Revenue Leadership Podcast. You should definitely check it out. And he's had a whole lot going on since then. Following some time at Shopify, Kyle joined Owner.com when they were just $2 million in annual revenues. Last year, they closed a Series C funding round that valued the company at over $1 billion. And rumors are that this unicorn is seeing well north of 100% growth year over year under Kyle's leadership. Kyle, it's great to talk with you again.
Yeah, appreciate the invite. Looking forward to it.
Thanks. So for those of us who are meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about you and your team and what's been keeping you occupied lately.
So I'm the CRO at owner.com. We are vertical AI for mom and pop restaurants. So the little takeout place that you order from on a Friday, Saturday night, that's our ICP. And we are sort of like Shopify plus HubSpot for those takeout restaurants. So we do website, online ordering, email, text message marketing, custom branded app, delivery management, review management, business listing management, AI phone answering, point of sale, like all this stuff
wrapped smorgasbord of things.
Yeah. And all wrapped up into one package for the restaurant. And the core differentiation is we are opinionated as a product. And so our positioning is, you use Owner and you give up some choice and flexibility. You have to fit within our frameworks. There's less customization with us versus Squarespace or Pop Menu, where you can do anything you want with your sites. But by fitting within this framework, it means you get to enlist our army of experts who are constantly working on your behalf and tinkering your website, because we're running A/B tests and experiments across thousands and thousands of sites and hundreds of millions of sessions. And whatever we find works across these experiments, then we roll out across every single customer. So the configuration of your menu may change without you knowing it, but we do that because we've clearly seen that there is a 4 to 6% conversion rate lift when we can consolidate categories from X to Y, and so then we'll go make those changes. And ultimately, for the restaurant owner, that means they just make more money. So they give up some choice. Most of them are like, I don't want to make those decisions anyways. I don't want to be a digital marketer. And in exchange, they make money, they grow faster, and they're more profitable. And so I've been here for 4 years. We were 2.5 million ARR when I started. We'll cross the $100 million mark here within a month or two. My team is sales, customer onboarding, RevOps enablement, partnerships. I've had CS in parts of my journey, growth marketing parts of my journey here, and what else is pertinent to say? And we're super AI pilled. I think the thing that I'm like most known for now is being a very early and aggressive adopter of all things AI in go-to-market. I talked to a vendor, a very well-known vendor, who we were like catching up on the space, and he goes, "Yeah, I mean," he's like, I understand your opinion, but it's just you and Ramp. He's like, these are the only two companies that I have exposure to that are doing things like with that level of sophistication. Because I was asking for more from that product, and he was like, it's only relevant for literally two companies. It's you guys. More and more are catching up, but I'm that's sort of like our claim to fame now, is the efficiency of the business, which is driven by a lot of sales craft, incredible leadership, but also like a hardcore adoption of all things AI, starting like very early.
So I want to get into that a little bit. A month ago, I released a book, the AI Handbook for Sales Professionals. And in researching it, I was talking to lots of practitioners like you about what role is AI playing in their go-to-market motions. And I would say 6 months ago, the conversation for a lot of mainstream businesses was, we're doing some experiments where, maybe we have one or two things that's sort of interesting, but it hadn't really gotten into the DNA of a lot of companies. And then there were folks like you who are like wildly successful and AI enabled, and it's so core there. So for folks that are thinking about AI in sales or maybe have had some experiments, what are the top couple of use cases you're seeing in your own go-to-market team?
Yeah. So I'll answer the use case question, and then then I actually want to answer the foundations question.
Yeah.
So for us, we have prioritized applying AI to things that make us money. And so there's lots of places you can get more efficient, you can make things more streamlined, and we have a bunch of that happening. But where our applied AI team spends most of their time is on pipeline generation. It's my opinion that that is the highest leverage place because there is the most data and feedback, and it is the easiest to do because pipeline generation tends to be more structured and systematic than anything else down funnel. So we've focused on AI in the BDR and growth functions more than anything. We've done a bunch for sales and make them, speed them up, have them do less busy work, like focus them on revenue generating activities. But the biggest bang for our buck has been in the XDR organization. So to give an order of magnitude, we were like pretty proud of the efficiency of our BDR team a few years ago, and we would generate $36,000 closed won ARR per month per BDR. This was like 2-3 years ago. So you have
Just impressive in its own right.
Yeah, not anymore. But so you have one BDR producing like over 400,000 in closed won ARR per year. You're paying them $80K, so pretty decent economics. Most people would say like 5-to-1, a 5-to-1 ratio is solid. Last month, the average outbound BDR produced 8,500 close won MRR. So call it like 100,000 close won ARR per BDR per month. So wow. That's one BDR producing, call it 1.2 million in close won deals per year. And anybody listening, like you can appreciate how much that would change your life as a revenue leader if your team of 10 BDRs was producing 3 times the pipeline for the same cost as it did previously. And so to get there, we have just gone like systematically through the BDR funnel. So like, what is the first thing? You have to give your BDRs high quality contacts, like give them the right account, the right people at the right accounts with the right contact information. So they're not calling 25% no longer with company, wrong contact, wrong person. They're not calling tier C's. They're only calling like tier 1A great fit companies. So that's job number one. Give them the people to call, hand that to them on a platter, then help them connect with those people at a really high rate. For us, that's getting mobile phone numbers. Our applied AI leader, YG, built a thing called eConnect, which is an estimated connect rate product, which figures out which lead they're going to actually pick up. And so like TitanX is a vendor in the space that does this. And so we basically built TitanX internally. And so that increased drastically the number of decision makers BDRs can talk to per day. And then you go down, okay, now we have the right people, we're talking to the right people, and now how do you convert decision maker connects into what we call meaningful at-bats? And so that's about honing in your scripting. And so we have a very structured cold call script. And so the opener, so it's called Pacreos. The P in Pacreos is pattern interrupt. And so we used AI to mass generate the pattern interrupts that we think are most relevant for the BDR to use on that call. And then we've done a bunch of other stuff to give them the information they need to be effective, to establish a hypothesis of need, to get to pain, to build intrigue with the customer, all in this thing called AI PCR, AI pre-call research. And so now we've given them the right people. We've helped them get in contact with those people. And there's a lot of skill to that too. There's a bunch of skills taught the BDRs. We call it detective work, but big help with AI, with eConnect. Then we've told them, like, the most important information to help them get this person's attention. And then we've done a ton of training, just like relentless training on the BDR side to get them better. And we use this product called Avara, which is an AI sales simulator. So they can do like orders of magnitude more repetitions than most BDRs get to practice. A BDR will do between 15 and 20 hours of sims, like cold call sims, before they ever make a real phone call here. And then we automate everything else after. Automate filling in Salesforce fields. We automate we're automating the rotation to the account executive through default, which is the tool there. And so you just go through the stack and you come up with hypotheses and think through, like, how do you want to improve this? And AI is the answer in a lot of them, or something that is AI powered is the answer in a lot of it. So that is probably like the most impactful use case and probably one of the more unique ones for us.
One of the things I'm hearing you say there, though, is you're keeping the human elements of calling, communicating, developing trust. You're leaving that in a human being's hand, and you're not trying to use AI to simulate the outbound call or leave the message or craft the emails that go autonomously. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not against that. But I have not seen that work at scale. And I've interacted with a lot of these products. We have a product that does AI phone ordering, so you can call in and talk to an AI, and it's pretty good. But I've talked to that team about how much deterministic code they need to wrap around these voice models to make it work decently well. And so when I think about sort of this like use case framework, and so it's like the 5 Ps. So what are all your possibilities? What is the payoff that they work? What is the probability that it works? Then what is like the perspiration effort needed? And so when I think about like AI, like phone, either for inbound or outbound, I currently believe that the probability, the probability that works really well is like not as high as I would want it to be in order to endeavor on that project, because it is a very high perspiration project. Yeah. Like, we have a team of engineers working on this for our customers, and they've been at it for a while. And I've talked to other companies that have experimented with it, and so I just think I'm waiting for the models to catch up to be able to do that well. But there's also a lot of regulatory stuff around it. Like, you can't make outbound calls without explicit opt-in, and so that limits a bunch of stuff. So we might experiment with it over time. And we've got a massive TAM, so we can do these things down market and in parts of the market that are like not economically viable for us to put humans on today. So I that's our rationale on it today.
I think that makes a lot of sense. A lot of times we hear this conversation about entry-level roles. I always heard, delegate work to the lowest cost resource that can do the job. And historically, that was an SDR or a BDR. And I think increasingly we're seeing people think about automating some of those SDR tasks to an AI tool. I wonder, though, then where do we get training, or where do you have your entry into sales, or what is your first sales job in a Kyle Norton organization, and what are the skills you're looking for there?
Yeah, so I have 2 thoughts on this. So one is this concept of Jevons paradox that was a big topic of conversation on AI Twitter last year. And Jevons paradox basically says that as the cost of something goes down, people don't use the same amount and save money. They typically use much, much more of it. And so, like, because this was being said in relation to compute and tokens. It's like, oh, well, are these companies going to be able to like continue this growth rate? Because if the models get more efficient and tokens are half the cost that they are today, then their revenue gets cut in half. And every single time the cost of tokens have come down, usage has just like ripped, because there's new things that were not economically viable that are now economically viable. And so I think this is true with SDRs in many ways, that as AI can do more to make them more productive and do parts of their job, then people aren't going to get more out of the same number of SDRs. They're going to want to get more out of more SDRs because now the economics are really viable. And that's our opinion. Like we had a really good start of Q1. We now looked at these like BDR economics. We're like, wow, we should do way more of this. And so we didn't say like, let's save a bunch of money and like be more profitable. We basically have said, like I just greened like our a plus 10 BDRs to our original plan, which had us going to like a BDR team of like 70 people at the end of the year already. And so we are a living, breathing example of like, as you get more productive, you actually want way more of that thing. So that's point one, which is Jevons paradox. The other thing that I think is an important framing, and Jordan Crawford, who is an like AI outbound Claude Code like maven, he's one of the smartest guys in the space that I learn a lot from personally. He shared this with me. He was like, yeah, you should really think about a job as a bundle of tasks and unbundle that role and think about like, what are the parts of that job that AI can do better or better or separate from the job, and then refactor that job around the things that humans are really good at. And that's basically what we've done, you know, all the way back to 2022. This has always been like a opinion of mine that we've like really got to bring to life here, is that most companies, part of the BDR job is what people call prospecting, which is like prospect research. Right. It's like finding people to call, building a list, doing the research. Obviously, nobody wants BDRs doing that. Like right. It's not a great use of time. It tends to not be like an awesome part of the BDR, like the BDR archetype's skill set, like quiet, diligent, deep work. You know, these tend to be like hyperactive, extroverted, like go-getter people who go into this because they want to engage with people. And so now that entire part of the job, which in many companies is 30, 40, 60% of the time spent, now is completely done in like a centralized manner. And we just give the leads to the reps to call. And so now our reps, they don't really do email, if any at all. Like that's all done through our cold outbound hyper-personalized program. They don't do their own lead research. They just make calls. They send text messages because you're not really allowed to have robots send text messages. You can get big fines. And they love it. Like the BDRs would way rather talk to 25 decision makers and book, 2 to 4 to, like we have some BDRs book like 8 meetings a day sometimes. And they would way rather do that than like sit behind a computer and do a bunch of lead research.
I think that's fantastic. Sometimes these things go really, really wrong too, as we experiment with new technology. I just gave a TED Talk a couple of weeks ago talking about the garden behind me. And I had built a little fan site for my Chicago Bell Garden. And there were food vendors who thought I was a real restaurant in Chicago. And so my door started filling up with these unsolicited samples of like 5 pounds of kimchi and a case of cookies and 120 pounds of steak rub came from England, for this, fake restaurant. And clearly it's a place where someone hasn't gotten their sales tooling right because they haven't done that right research. What are some of the mistakes or places where you've seen some of that go wrong? Or maybe just a bad fit?
So many. So it's sort of funny because this happens and people are like, oh, AI is so bad at this. Like, look at this bad email AI sent. I got just as many bad emails when we had no AI sending emails. People with like crappy personalization or, like I'm a Pavilion member and people will reach out, be like, oh, hey, Kyle, like Pavilion is growing and I work with other growing companies to help them grow. Want to meet? And so the pre-AI personalization and outreach I thought was just as crap as it is now. So I think people are quick to say like this is worse. There is much more volume. I
think you do it faster.
Yeah, and so you just get a lot more of it. But the mistakes people are making is like they're not spending the time up on building the right data foundations, and they're loading a bunch of like mediocre data into a spam cannon. And I actually think it does a surprising amount of damage that people aren't aware of, because when I get an email from a sales tech vendor that's just bad, I discard it pretty fast, but I'm like making a judgment about that company. I'm making a judgment about that company as an investment opportunity, as a part of the ecosystem. When people like ask me about it, I'm like, oh, I don't know, but like I don't think that's one of the serious companies. And like I don't know anything about them, but I've just like made this snap judgment. And I think people should be a little more cognizant of the brand damage that they're doing, sending bad outbound. But what you want to do is like spend the right amount of time up front to curate your list. Actually, another shout out to Jordan Crawford. One of his like best quotes is, "The list is the message." And so you want to spend the time up front to build a highly curated, very targeted, very specific list where your message can be like very impactful. So you can, with AI, like really filter down and niche down the different parts of your market and do this en masse. So you can build a list, one big ICP list, and then split your lists into, okay, I sell to marketers and I sell to RevOps. Okay, split your list. Okay, I also sell to fast growing, cool tech startups, and I sell to Fortune 500 like boring companies. And you can start to segment your list and then generate emails that feel like hyper personalized, but it's being personalized on because the list is the message. So it's marketers. Yeah, it's like marketers at Fortune 500, and we know they have these specific problems. And then you can layer in some of the hyper personalization on top of it. Pull something out of their 10K that is specifically relevant to the problem that you're talking about, or something that that they've said on LinkedIn or whatever it is. But like it's the like data layer, list management, and customer understanding that like it does the work. Sending out the emails is easy. You're going to use one of these like cold email platforms. Smart Lead is like one of the tools we use, and you warm up your domains. And like we use this guy Eric Nosalski from Growth Engine X, who just like, there's just a program. He knows everything about cold email and how inboxes work and how to like not get marked as spam. And you just like, the answers are there. That's pretty easy. What you have to be able to do is like get smart about breaking down your market and like thinking thoughtfully about the messaging.
I think, we've been talking about AI in the sales process. I also think in tech companies, everyone is AI washing their offering as well, and claiming that, I had a dashboard and now it's AI, and that's supposed to be a differentiator. But it seems like owner.com, like your product is actually AI enabled as well. Tell me a little bit about how that works in the product that you sell.
Yeah. And so we're funny because like we don't sell AI necessarily. We're not like selling tokens. We don't sell to a technical buyer, but essentially every part of our product under the hood is AI driven. Even though we were a pre-AI SaaS company, everything that we did, you could make AI driven, and it's like infinitely better. So generating somebody's new website, we scrape everything you could possibly find about that customer online, everything about their story, their photos. We use AI to upscale the photos and turn some of the photos into video, like beautiful visuals. And then we take all the information from their Google reviews and their news articles about them and things that they've said about themselves on their website, and turn that into the story that you see on our site. Same thing with the menu. We use AI to optimize their menu. We know what makes a high converting menu. All of that is like AI driven analysis. And then we put their menu into this engine, and it produces a like hyper optimized menu experience. Same thing with emails. Same thing with text message marketing. Every part of our stack is AI now, including the engineers who ship like 4 times the PRs now than they did the same time last year, which is just insane. And just the general velocity of the product. Like, we're having problems in customer facing teams because the product team is launching so many new things so fast. Like, I don't really know how some of these teams can keep up. And so like we're, we don't get talked about as like an AI company the same way as like Cursor would,
Right.
but there is like just as much AI under the hood as sort of anywhere.
Kyle, we could talk forever, and it's amazing how quickly our time has flown by. We have just a couple of minutes left. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to be sure we share today?
I think one of the conversations that I'm having more and more of, and this is for the companies that have maybe like figured out more, is the architecture of how do you stitch this all together? Because, when you build a few custom apps internally, you vibe code a competition dashboard or some analysis stuff. That's all fine. And those are like one-off pieces of tooling. But I think the interesting questions that people are asking is like, what are you going to build versus buy? Like, what is the specific criteria for build versus buy? I've been asking this question a lot lately. Like, I'm not gonna vibe code a CRM. As much as people may want to besmirch the Salesforce product, which I think is overblown, like nobody is going to go do that. And so like, why? Like, what is the heuristic that makes people be like, I'm not going to go vibe code my CRM. I am going to go vibe code my LMS. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's like a few things there, and I would love people's feedback on it if they have opinions. I think like if that platform requires rock solid stability and reliability, you're probably not going to build it yourself. If there is like high differentiation, if you want something very different than what is in the market, then it's a good internal build. If you can carve a material competitive advantage building something, like why would you vibe code something that doesn't really give you a competitive advantage over your peer companies? Like the effort, the value to effort ratio. So and another like Avara, this AI sales simulator, we're probably not going to, you could attempt to do your own version of it, but there's a bunch of like sort of gnarly technical details under there that they've figured out to make the sims fast and snappy, and like the reasoning engine works quick enough so that it's got really good quality information, quality like simulation, also at a good speed. And like you'd have to dedicate a whole bunch of engineers like a pretty long time to be able to figure that out. I've like spent time with that with those guys and understood like the magnitude of the technical challenge. So that's like another reason you're like, okay, well I can spend X number of dollars every year to get that product, or I could spend like 4 multi-$100,000 a year engineers to build this and probably have to maintain it. And so I think that's like one of the other criteria that I've been playing with. And I think this is one of the things that I encourage people to be thoughtful about. I don't have all the answers. We have intuitively made these build versus buy decisions, and I'm trying to unpack like what was behind it? Why did we decide? Why did we feel like we could build one? And so I would just say to folks, be thoughtful about these decisions because you'll live with them for a while potentially. And if you've got opinions, I want to hear them.
Excellent. Thanks for your time today. Where can people follow up with you and share those opinions?
Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm like capped on connections, unfortunately. So every time I want to accept somebody, I have to delete other connection requests. So follow me and I'll do my best. Try to connect with me, but take no offense if I can't connect with you back, because I have to like once a week go delete like 100 spam connections to add people. And then check the podcast. If this is a topic interesting to you, I talk about this every single week. It's the revenueleadershippodcast.com. It's on all your big podcasting apps. And I want to hear from people. If like you listen to the podcast, have an opinion, just like respond to the newsletter, and I'm eager to hear from folks on like what they're doing and feedback on our ideas. So that's
fantastic. And folks find me at JD Miller on LinkedIn. And today I'm, collecting those AI sales fail stories. I'm doing a partnership with that steak rub company, Spiceology. You may win some steak rub or a copy of the new book at aisalesfail.com. Thanks for being with us today, Kyle. Really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for the time.